20F need to get something off my chest. I'm currently sitting on a hotel balcony looking at the ocean with my heart in pieces. I need to know if I'm crazy or if my gut feeling was right all along. Maybe writing this out will help me figure out how I ended up here. Completely blindsided. My husband, 23M, and I got married 3 months ago. It was a whirlwind romance. One of those stories you only hear about in movies. We met when I was 18 and working at a small bookstore. He came in every Saturday, bought a random novel, and talked to me about life, art, music, philosophy, you name it. He was charming, confident, a little mysterious, and the most attentive guy I'd ever met. We fell fast. Within a year, we were living together. A year after that, he proposed at sunset on a rooftop overlooking the city. It was perfect. He was perfect. Or at least, that's what I believed. We decided to do a delayed honeymoon and planned a 2-week trip to his hometown, a beautiful coastal village full of sunshine, beaches, and his childhood memories. I'd never been, but he spoke about it like it was heaven on earth. I was genuinely excited to see the place that raised the man I loved. The first few days were amazing. We swam, went out to dinner, and stayed up late just talking like we used to. He took me to his favorite childhood spots, introduced me to a couple of old friends, and even his sweet high school teacher. But then, things started changing. He began getting a lot of calls. At first, I didn't think anything of it. He told me it was the boys, his old friends, who were dying to catch up. He said they were a bit wild, not really the kind of people I'd enjoy being around, and I understood that. Not every friend group is couple-friendly, right? So I stayed in a hotel while he went out. The first night, he was gone for 3 hours. The second night, 5. By the fourth night, he didn't come home until 3 a.m. I waited. I texted. I even called once, but he didn't answer. When he finally stumbled in, smelling of alcohol and sea salt, he just kissed my forehead and whispered, "Don't be mad, baby. I just lost track of time. They missed me." I wanted to believe him. I did. But something in my gut twisted every time he left. I didn't want to be that person. I really didn't. But on the 7th night, when he left again just for a drink, I did the one thing I swore I'd never do. I checked his laptop. He'd left it open on the table. I wish I hadn't. His messages weren't to his guy friends. They were to a woman. Mira. That was the name. Dozens, no, hundreds of messages. I started reading. "It's been so long, I dreamt of your hands last night. She doesn't suspect anything. This place still feels like ours. I told her I'd be out with the guys again. Can I see you tonight?" I felt like I couldn't breathe. My vision blurred. I didn't know if I was reading it right. My husband was sneaking out of our honeymoon suite to see another woman? In his hometown? Was she an ex? An old fling? I kept reading. The texts were passionate, romantic, and graphic. It was clear they'd been physical. Recently, during our trip. Then I saw a name that shattered me even more. His mother's name. Mira had messaged, "Your mom thinks we're soulmates. She told me to be patient. That this trip would be hard, but worth it." He came back around 2 a.m., whistling as he slipped his key into the lock. I was sitting on the edge of the bed with the laptop open, the messages up on the screen. He froze. The smile dropped off his face like someone flipped a switch. I didn't say a word, just pointed at the screen. He didn't even deny it. "I was going to tell you," he said softly. "I just didn't know how." "Tell me what? That you brought me on a honeymoon to the same town where your secret lover lives? That your mother is rooting for her and not your wife? That you've been kissing me goodnight and then going to her bed?" He said they had history, that she was his first love, that the town had a pull on him, and so did she. I asked him the only thing I could think to ask. "Did you marry me just to get her out of your system?" He didn't answer, and that silence told me everything. I felt like I was floating outside my own body. The ocean waves outside our hotel room pounded like war drums, but all I could hear was the blood rushing in my ears. My hands were shaking. My mouth was dry. The man I married 3 months ago stood in front of me like a stranger with tear-filled eyes and the smell of another woman on his clothes. I don't even know how long we sat there. Minutes? Hours? I finally found the words to speak. "Is this why we came here?" He sighed and sat on the edge of the bed, not beside me, not close, just far enough away to feel like a chasm had opened between us. I don't even know how long we sat there. Minutes? Hours? I finally found the words to speak. "Is this why we came here?" He sighed and sat on the edge of the bed, not beside me, not close, just far enough away to feel like a chasm had opened between us. Mira and I, we have a past. It was never resolved. And when we broke up, it wasn't because we stopped loving each other. It was complicated. Family stuff, distance, timing. I wanted to scream. "Then why did you marry me?" "Because I do love you," he said. But when I came back here, it was like everything I buried just came rushing back. She reached out. "I should have told you. I just didn't know how." He buried his face in his hands, like he was the one hurting, like he was the victim. And for a sick moment, I almost pitied him. But then I remembered Mira's message. "Your mom thinks we're soulmates." His mother, the same woman who smiled at me over dinner, who called me darling, and gave me a silver bracelet on our wedding day. She was rooting for Mira this whole time. And it got worse. I asked him if he had slept with Mira during our trip. He said nothing, just looked at me with that guilty, hollow expression. That was answer enough. "I want to talk to her," I said. He shook his head. "That's not a good idea." "Too bad. I deserve answers." He finally gave me her number. The next morning, I texted her. She responded right away. "I'd love to meet, just us girls." We met at a small seaside cafe. She was stunning. The kind of woman who turns heads without trying. Confident, elegant, older than me by at least a few years. She greeted me with a soft smile and a cold kiss on the cheek. "So, you're the wife," she said, like she was tasting the word and didn't quite like the flavor. I didn't waste time. "How long has this been going on?" She sipped her coffee slowly. "Since the day you arrived." "Before that? Why would you be okay with this?" She set her cup down and leaned in. "Because I loved him first. Because I was pregnant once, and your lovely mother-in-law convinced me to go away for his future, for his sake. I thought I was doing the right thing. But when he married you, I realized I'd lost him for good, until this trip." The blood drained from my face. "You were pregnant?" She nodded. "Does he know?" "No, he thought I just left him." And that's when the pieces started clicking into place. This wasn't just an affair. This was unfinished history. Deep, messy, twisted. "I'm not here to steal him," she said. "I just wanted closure. But it doesn't mean we didn't connect again. It doesn't mean it didn't feel real." I left the cafe in a daze. Everything I thought I knew about my husband, our marriage, our love, it all felt like a carefully constructed lie. When I returned, I packed my bag. He watched me in silence. "I know you met her," he finally said. I saw the message. I turned to him. "Then you know I'm done." He didn't beg, didn't cry. He just asked, "What if I told you I chose you? That I want to fix this?" I laughed, bitterly. "You can't fix something you never respected." He stepped closer. "Please, don't leave me here. Let's go home. We can try again." I hesitated, because despite it all, the betrayal, the lies, the heartbreak, a part of me still loved him. Or maybe I loved the version of him I thought was real. You know those moments when your brain knows something is wrong, but your heart keeps screaming, just wait a little longer, it might all be in your head. That was me. Every single day since that night on the beach, when he came home at 2:30 a.m., smelling like beer, cheap cologne, and someone else's perfume. He swore it was just his friend's girlfriend who hugged him. I wanted to believe him. God. I did, but lies rot slowly. They don't hit you like a truck. They fester. They build up. And soon enough, I was questioning every cough, every stretch, every sigh. Was he irritated with me or guilty? A week after that night, we were supposed to meet one of his cousins for lunch. At a restaurant, a public place. Harmless, right? He told me to meet them there because he had to run an errand real quick. I took a cab, arrived first, sat down, ordered drinks. 10 minutes, 15, 30. No sign of him, no cousin, just a very chatty waitress who eventually asked, "Are you still waiting on someone, or would you like a menu?" An hour passed. He finally walked in, alone. Said his cousin canceled last minute. Claimed his phone had died. My stomach flipped. I asked him what errand took so long. He paused for half a second too long before answering. Just helping a friend fix their car. A friend. Just that. No name. No detail. I wanted to scream, "Do you think I'm stupid?" But I didn't, because I was scared of the answer, the truth, the ugly, heartbreaking, humiliating truth. That night, while he showered, I did something I swore I'd never do again. I went through his phone. Not the messages this time, not WhatsApp, not even Instagram. I checked the rideshare app, history. He had taken a trip to a hotel, not a bar, not a mechanic's, a damn hotel, 2 hours before lunch, returned 20 minutes before he showed up to meet me. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely breathe. I wanted to confront him right then, soaking wet from the shower, towel around his waist, vulnerable. I wanted to throw the phone at him and scream, "Who the hell was in that hotel with you?" But instead, I smiled. I kissed him goodnight, and I waited. The next few days were a blur of pretending. I asked more questions. He got better at lying. And I started doing what he never expected me to do. I began talking to his friends. The ones I had met, the ones I hadn't. I wasn't playing the jealous girlfriend anymore. I was playing detective. One night, I caught a break. One of his old friends, let's call him M, was drunk when I called. I played dumb, said I missed them hanging out, that I wish I could meet more of his circle, that I wanted to plan a surprise for my husband and needed help. M chuckled and said, "Man, if he's not with you, he's probably at her place again." Her? Yeah, M slurred. The girl from back in the day. I mean, I get it. They had history. History, another puzzle piece dropped. My husband was still seeing his ex. The one he told me cheated on him. The one he said traumatized him. I hung up, heart racing. So I waited for my moment. The next day, I told him I was visiting a spa. I let him drop me off, kissed him goodbye. I waited till his car was gone. Then I called a cab and followed the address from the rideshare app history. The hotel. I waited in the lobby. An hour later, I saw him walk in, fresh clothes, fresh shave. 10 minutes after that, she walked in. And God, she was beautiful. Not in the conventional way, but the way that stung. Confident, effortless. Like she knew she still had him wrapped around her finger. I waited till they went up. 15 minutes. Then I called the front desk. I used the most innocent voice I could. "Hi, I'm his wife. I forgot the anniversary gift in the room he just checked into. Can I get a key?" They gave it to me. Room 415. I don't know what I thought I'd see. Them naked? In bed? No. They were just talking. She was sitting cross-legged on the bed. He was pacing. But the second he saw me walk in, his soul left his body. Her face turned pale, then red. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just said, "You told me she was a mistake, that she broke you." He didn't reply. She whispered, "I didn't know he was married." I laughed. I actually laughed. "Of course you didn't." Then I left. Simple as that. No drama, just an ending. I moved out a week later, took the essentials, blocked him on everything. He tried, for weeks. Calls from other numbers, emails, letters, flowers. I ignored it all. Until one day, I got an envelope. No return address, just my name. Inside was a receipt. A single hotel receipt with the words, "I'm sorry I ever brought her back into our lives." Our lives, like I was still in it. I ripped it in half and dropped it into the trash. They say after the storm comes the calm, but nobody tells you that the calm can be just as terrifying because it's quiet, too quiet. And in that silence, you hear every doubt, every whisper of what if and why me echoing in your chest like a hollow scream. I had moved back in with my cousin temporarily. She offered me her guest room without question, just a tight hug and the words, "He doesn't get to have you and lie to you." The first few days were numb. I'd stare at the ceiling and wonder how I could love someone who had betrayed me so deeply. The man who made me feel like I was home was nothing but a stranger I had invited into my heart and given a key to everything sacred inside me. And yet, part of me still wanted to understand why. That's the sick thing about heartbreak. You don't always want revenge. Sometimes you just want an answer that will make it hurt less. A week later, he showed up at my cousin's doorstep. I didn't answer. She did. And I heard her tell him, "She doesn't want to see you. Respect that, or I'm calling the cops." He slipped a letter under the door. I didn't read it for 3 days. When I did, I almost wished I hadn't. It wasn't just an apology. It was a confession. He said he'd reconnected with his ex during the planning stages of our trip. That at first it really was innocent. But then the feelings came back. She told him she was in a bad place, mentally and emotionally, that she had never stopped loving him, that he had unfinished business with her. He said he thought he could help her while still loving me. That sentence broke me. You don't love someone while entertaining another person's arms. But the worst part? He said she told him she was pregnant, not by him, but by her ex, and she didn't want to keep the baby. She was falling apart, and he couldn't let her do it alone. So he chose her pain over our peace, her chaos over our love. He went to the hotel that day not to sleep with her, but to be there when she walked out of the clinic. I don't know if that made it better or worse. The final twist? In the postscript of his letter, he wrote, "You deserve someone who won't hesitate when you ask for time, for love, for answers. I failed you, but you saved me more than you know. I hope one day I become the man you thought I was." It didn't excuse anything, but it gave me what I'd needed for weeks: closure. Months have passed. I've started therapy. I'm journaling again. I took a solo trip to the same beach we went to for our honeymoon. And for the first time, I watched the sunset without longing for someone to watch it with. It was just me, and it was enough.